From its humble beginnings in the 1600s to its still controversial use today, the word queer has always been, well, queer. Queer can mean something different to everyone who uses it, and we love it for its versatility and its resilience. So, how much do you really know about the history of the word queer? The Oxford English Dictionary credits the 16th century Scottish people for coming up with the word queer in the flighting of Dunbar and Kennedy, a poetic war of words that involved accusations of sexual perversion or weakness. Picture a rap battle, but in kilts. Hey, here comes our own queer clerk, one rogue battler tells another. But the guy's not necessarily gay, just eccentric and suspicious. The first person to use the word queer as a homophobic slur was John Sholto Douglas, the 9th Marquis of Queensberry in 1894. His son Francis was the private secretary to Lord Rosebery, and the two were rumored to be carrying on a scandalous affair. After Francis died, his father wrote a letter to his younger son, Lord Alfred Douglass, denouncing snob queers like Rosebery and blaming the Lord for the elder son's death. The thing is, Alfred himself was one of acclaimed author and so-called first modern homosexual Oscar Wilde's literary muses, and they wrote each other love letters for years. When Douglas found out about the affair, he made it his personal mission to take down Wilde. And it worked. Wilde was later arrested, eventually found guilty, and sentenced to 2 years of hard labor. Other, crooked, and bad became synonyms for queer for years, and the use of the word queer reached its height of popularity in the late 1920s, as the term also became widely known in America. But New York's Stonewall Riots in 1969 marked the beginning of the gay rights movement in the US. And from the start, members of the community called themselves queer as an act of defiance, as they celebrated their right to love who they want, even in the face of police violence. Yet that age of sexual liberation in the 1970s turned into tragedy in the 1980s. More than 16,000 Americans died of AIDS-related complications in just 5 years, most of them gay men. The AIDS crisis sparked an era of activism in a time of grave crisis, and this had a large influence on young activists, who took up the word queer as a badge of courage. This culminated in the founding of the Queer Nation in 1990 as AIDS continued to ravage the LGBTQ community. And at New York Pride in 1990, they passed out, "Queers read this. Being queer is not about a right to privacy. It is about the freedom to be public, to just be who we are." For the first time, the world was hearing, "We're here, we're queer, get used to it." The work of these queer activists inspired a shift in art, culture, and academia, as institutions questioned the heterocentric norms of Western culture. With the rise of the internet came digital queer communities and a new wave of LGBTQ activism. Bills like Prop 8 in California and the larger national fight for marriage equality moved a new generation of activists to organize and fight for equality. The internet's ability to connect people and spread information at a rapid pace cemented the term queer into a modern generation's lexicon. Now, a wide range of LGBTQ people and other sexual minorities call themselves queer as a more expansive and expressive umbrella term for their sexualities and genders. Also, not everyone in the LGBTQ community loves the word queer. There are plenty of trans folks and older gays and lesbians who just don't jive with the term. But as our movement evolves beyond just the L and the G in our ever-growing acronym, the proliferation of the term has been seen by some as an overwhelming positive, reflecting a more inclusive approach to our politics and our community. We're all stronger together, and queerer than ever.